Me and Sim have been quite consistent in saying throughout the season, like, Sonny should be up front now, and we think like his time at left wing has kind of come and gone. But that performance against Newcastle kind of, I think, has changed our minds, and it was a bit of a throwback to what we have seen from Son over the last couple of years, or definitely throughout his Spurs career. So do you feel like Son should be staying out wide now?
That is the most confusing aspect of what we saw in Newcastle altogether. Like, there's nothing more baffling for two reasons. A, he's been playing in the number 9. We've kind of had the sense that he's lost a few yards regarding his pace. There's just been this consistent idea that, right, he's going to have to move into the number 9 now. He's doing a Cristiano Ronaldo at the end of the day. You know, I mean, he started out as a wide man, incredibly fast, to be able to do amazing things, but he's getting in his latter years as far as football years are concerned, and he needs to move into that number 9. So that's where it seemed like he was going to do the most damage, especially considering that he had the numbers. If you're looking at the top scorers of the league so far, he's way up there. And so you're thinking, right, he's our bet in number 9, and you know, again, it comes down to where it felt like it made the most sense. But then you're also looking at it from the perspective of, every single time Son comes off the pitch, we've seen images and videos of him in absolute agony. And I'm thinking, is this man able to play the same way anymore? Is he able to be that guy? Like, it's difficult enough watching him come off in pain when he's kind of, in some matches, he's hanging up in the number 9 position on his own, not really able to get into the game because we're really terrible in the low block, and he's not able to get the ball. He's not able to keep the ball. And he's not even doing all that much in those particular games. And yet he's still coming off looking like he's in absolute agony. Then you're seeing him in this game where he gets pushed back out into the wide position. He's doing all the running. He's crossing balls. He's able to shake off Trippier like he's not even there. He's maneuvering into the box and able to get the assists. Where is that coming from suddenly? Like, it's completely and utterly baffling. That's not the Son that we've experienced for the last, whatever it is, 14 games. And like, I don't, like, going forward, you know, one game does not a pattern make. So it's difficult to kind of go, yeah, okay, 100%, yeah, he has to be out there on the left side now. We don't know, because he could go out on the left side in the next game, a few games, and be anonymous or not be able to shirk his man. And so it's just, it leaves way more questions than answers. I would love to think that we could do that. Having Sonny play in that position is where we've seen Sonny do his best work down through the years. He's my favorite player of all time. I absolutely love the guy, and to see him go back into that run of form and be not only the super winger that we've always known and loved, but to be our captain and galvanize the team from that position would be outstanding. And if again, one game does not a pattern make, but Richarlison has come in and scored 2 goals, and suddenly he seems like he's got a bit of confidence, even though he's dyed his hair again, which it seems to be his kryptonite somehow in previous games. If he's able to continue a run of form from that in the number 9 position, which I've always maintained is Richarlison's best position. I know, Sim, that you've made a point of saying that, you know, for Everton he's actually done better out on the left or whatever, but I think that just as an overall picture of seeing his performances playing in the number 9 for Everton and for Brazil, where he scored absolute worldies from that position. I think that it would be tremendous to think that going forward we could play Son on the left, Richarlison in the number 9, and see the best possible version of ourselves. We wouldn't, if we had all our players fighting fit, we wouldn't even need to bring anybody in to replace anybody in that starting 11, because we all thought that we were Richarlison out on the left, that was our weakest position. If we could replace him, the other 10 were fine. But now if Richarlison is playing in the 9 and is doing his best, and Sonny goes out on the left and is doing his best, we have, again, it's crazy to think that there's not a team out there who could come up against us. We'd be absolutely phenomenal. But we cannot assume that based on one game that Sonny has found his perfect position and Richarlison has found his perfect position. It could have just been a once-off. So again, it's more questions than answers, but I'm dying to find out what the answers are. I can't wait to see us going out against Nottingham Forest and seeing I want the lineup to be exactly the exact same as it was against Newcastle. And if we go out and do it again, then my mouth will be watering, like, it's just because it's that situation where you're thinking, we are continuing to show that we are on a road to being the biggest force to be reckoned with in the Premier League.
Yeah, I mean, it does seem like it's going that way, but I would leave the hair reviews to David, to be honest. I think he's missing a few after Harry Kane has left the club. But in terms of Heung-min Son, Dave, I've never seen a left back, a top right back, by the way, get absolutely destroyed, probably since Maicon came to the lane when Gareth Bell absolutely ripped him a new one. But I know you're Philly, you want to see Son just stick out to the left, but maybe is it just a case of different games call for different solutions?
Look, there's an element to that, but I think the biggest thing that everybody's sort of missing when it comes to that, first of all, by the way, I predicted Son out on the left and Richarlison through the middle in my predicted lineups on Saturday night and my reasons why, and it actually came to fruition in the game. But look, I think one thing that everybody's missing is we sold Harry Kane in the summer, but all we've done is move the problem from striker out to left wing. I'd argue we still have that striker problem. But now everyone's talking about the left wing. So all we've done is actually just shifted the position of the problem because we've used Son to cover up that problem of missing Harry Kane. But look, when it comes to Son, right, don't get me wrong, he's been playing through a lot of pain. Last season, you know, everyone formed a narrative that he can't play on the left anymore. He's lost a yard of pace. But it turned out at the end of the season, it came out. He was playing through injury all season and need to go and get surgery. At the start of this season, when Postecoglou went to try it, Son wasn't fit. He only had surgery right before preseason, so he wasn't fit enough, you know, in my opinion, to play out there. But we've got a huge problem with that at Tottenham. Richarlison, playing through that injury, he's had his surgery. He looked so much better at the weekend in his all-round game. Maddison, playing through injury, ends up going out for longer term. We've got a huge problem with this at Tottenham, expecting our players to continuously play through a lot of pain, and that is because of squad depth issues. Managers are asking them to do it because they don't trust the guys for other positions to come in and have the same impact. But when you look at Son up front, he's been absolutely brilliant, by the way. But he suits teams that want to come and press us, wants to come out and play out the back, where they leave sort of that space in behind so he can make them runs. That's what Sonny is brilliant at, is them runs in behind the back line. But the problem you've got when you've got Son up front is you don't have a target man in the box to play off of or to aim at. When Brennan Johnson and Kulu are both doing the same thing, like you've seen at West Ham, both cutting inside, the problem isn't them wanting to go on the outside and put crosses in the box. They're not doing it because Sonny's not that guy, you know, to go and meet crosses and stuff like that. That's not his strength. But also with Son, you miss the ability to create. You've got to look at the numbers. Is he scoring any more up front than what he would have off the left-hand side? No. But what you are missing is his creativity from the left-hand side. So I'd argue you're only getting 50% of Son because he's not scoring anymore, but then you're losing that creativity with him down the middle. You also have to almost score the perfect goal with Sonny down the middle. And that's nothing against Son, by the way. He's been shoehorned in from the left-hand side to up front, which is not his natural position, and he's absolutely made it work. But what we do miss is that natural striker in the box that makes them 5-yard bursts, makes one run, makes another, like Richarlison did for that first goal. Made an initial dart towards the near post, then pulled back to receive it to be able to tap at home. We don't have that with Son. What did Harry Kane do against low block teams at times? Pin his man and almost show the midfielder the path for him to play that ball into. Son doesn't have that. Son wants to come out and get the ball to feet and run at players. That's what he's good at. So for me, putting him back out on the left-hand side is an absolute masterstroke. Everyone was looking for someone like what Son done against Newcastle at West Ham to step up and be that guy to create, grab the Graham by the scruff of the neck. Son done that against Newcastle, and for me, it was great. I remember him picking up the ball on the halfway line and just absolutely driving at Newcastle, and it brought back images of that Burnley goal, the Puskas goal, getting Son back to his best. And for me, I think we do still have a striker problem at Tottenham Hotspur. We tried to cover it up by playing Son through the middle, but I think you're actually limiting Son's abilities of what he can do and any effect he can have on the game by doing that. So, look, I think Son should be out on the left and Richarlison through the middle, but that does also all depend on Richarlison backing up. We've been here with Richarlison before where he scored a goal. Everyone's like, right, now's the time, and it never happens. So I'm actually at the point, although I do believe Son's best position is on the left, that's where you see the best of him. Realistically, right now, until we solve that striker issue, his position is best wherever we need him to fill in, whether it is up front for a game or whether it's on the left wing. If Richarlison ain't doing it, you've got to play him back up front, realistically.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that, to be honest. And I feel like when teams are playing a high line against us, I do feel like Son does, influence the game best when he's central there, so he can get onto those runs. But Sim, as a massive believer of, Son can't play on the left anymore, what's your opinion on it now after seeing the last game?
I'm not a massive believer that he can't play on the left anymore.
That's what you were saying.
No. I never said I actually specifically said he can do it, but he definitely can't do it to the level he used to be able to do it at. Do
you still believe that?
Yeah, I still believe that because I know he had a brilliant game against Newcastle. Don't get me wrong. He absolutely gave Trippier nightmares. But what I would say is Trippier is clearly going through something at the moment in terms of his personal performance. He's really struggling for fitness. He's running on fumes. I've heard a lot of Newcastle fans saying that he's absolutely knackered. He's played every minute of every game and he's not had a rest the whole season, and he's clearly struggling at the moment. You saw against Everton the last game. He made some really bad mistakes in that one, and he was really struggling in that game as well. And I think in this game, I think he had the same problems. Not to say, look, obviously, when you come up against a good player like Trippier and he's struggling, you still got to take full advantage, and you have to be a good player to do that. And that's exactly what Son did. And Son absolutely ripped him apart, and it was beautiful to watch. But I still question whether he is that player out wide that Ange really wants, in terms of a player who's really good one-on-one with his fullback, who's really, when they're when he comes up against a fullback who's aggressive, who's quick, who's not basically as tired as Trippier was, is he going to have as much success in those situations as he did on Sunday? Look, we have to wait and see. I don't know. And then, as I say, I don't think Son is completely finished on the left. I just think his best position, and I think where you're getting his biggest talents is centrally, because I still think his best assets are his finishing ability and his ability in front of goal, and the best way to get him there is in the central position. And I disagree a bit with Dave in terms of when he said, would Son still score the same amount of goals out on the left as he does centrally? And Dave said yes. I don't think he would, especially in Ange's system. I think the wingers are very much out wide. I think in generally they don't cut inside. They like to stay wide, and that's how they create the creativity to open up more space in the centre. And I think when Son was out on the left on Sunday, he was very creative, but he wasn't getting many goal-scoring positions. And then he went central in the latter part of the game and looked very dangerous as well. And then he did start getting goal-scoring positions, and he could have ended up with more than a goal apart from his penalty on Sunday when he went central. So I would like to keep him on the left for now, because I think I want to pursue with Richarlison in what I think is his best position for this system, I think, which is up front. I question if he's better on the left or up front in general, but I do think in Ange's system, Richarlison's best position is up front, because I don't see him as a very creative left winger, to be honest. Albeit, I do think his best performances this season have been on the left. I do think that's true. But
his best performance.
But I would say, yeah, I agree. His best performance of the season was probably on Sunday, and that was centrally. But I think in general, he's probably been a bit better when we've seen him on the left than he has been. Whatever, we'll get into Richarlison later. But when it comes to Son, I think for now, I want to keep him out wide. I want to continue that dynamic and see. And I guess I want to see more of him out wide, see if he can keep up what he showed on Sunday, I guess. But if I'm looking at Son as a player, his profile, obviously he looked so sharp on Sunday. He looked very quick, and he was really giving Trippier a hard time. But I've seen Son enough times struggle to beat his man consistently over a decent period for me, and still have that finishing ability in front of goal to suggest to me I don't think that, for me, it was an issue, especially in the beginning of the season, of him being just come back from injury and stuff like that. I think he does struggle sometimes to consistently beat his man out wide and really take the game to them. And I think that I still believe his strongest asset is his shooting and finishing ability, and I really believe to get the best out of that, he needs to be central. But as you say, I think different games.
Push back on that a little.
I think different games probably do call for different solutions. Go on, Dave.
Just push back on that a little, Sim. Do you not think Son has been lost at times in games this season, especially against low-block teams up front?
Yeah, I do think that's happened. But I also think that can happen to a lot of strikers who we know that in Ange's system, it's you do a lot of thankless running, don't you? And you do a lot of stuff where it goes unnoticed, and you do a lot of pressing. Look, that's not to say. Look, he struggled in some games. You can't play well every game, and 100%. There have definitely been some games where he has struggled, and there are some games probably where maybe he would have been better off having a more physical presence like Richarlison and him off the left. And we had those options. Maybe it would have been better. I agree with you. I just think in general, I would rather see him in more often than not down the centre than out wide, which creates his own problems. But I agree with you. Maybe there have been some games where maybe it would have been better off for him on the left. I agree with that. I do agree with that.
I mean, that's what it comes down to for me. I think like against teams that play that high line, I would like to see him more consistent and stay in the central, because I think that's where he affects the game the most against those kind of teams. But when you're playing against a more kind of defensively structured side and the low block sides, I think he probably is best to serve out wide, where not only can he do what he did to Trippier and consistently attack his fullback, but he also can cut inside and create those goal scoring actions like he has done so many times. I know it's not a kind of way that Ange likes to play his football and the way his philosophy works, but this season we have seen our wingers do cut inside when they need to. Kulusevski does it time and time again. Sonny can do it. So I don't see why it can't be a facet of our game moving forward into the season where Sonny plays up front against, you know, your Liverpools, your Man Cities and Arsenals and these kind of teams. And then when we play against the low structured, rigid teams like maybe in Nottingham Forest or whoever it may be, then he goes back out wide. Adam, how do you feel about that one?
Yeah, I don't mind seeing. You know, we don't need to be rigid and calcified with the players and the positions that they're going to be in. If we want to start maneuvering things, and it makes more sense to strategize specifically for every individual opponent that we're coming up against. You wouldn't want to have a hard and fast rule. This is the team we have. This is the way we're going to go out. This is the way we're going to play every single time. And it's frustrating. You know, that we haven't quite learned how to break down the low block teams yet, but I'm sure that will come. But the only way that we're going to do it is by playing a different strategy than when we're playing against the people who are going to come at us. And so I do think that from time to time, yeah, it is a good idea to move Sonny out to the left and then maybe move him back again. You know, depending on who we're up against, for sure. I'm completely okay with that. I would take umbrage with what Dave said though, in terms of like he's guaranteed to have gotten as many goals if he had been playing out on the left. I'm not sure I agree.
History proves that though. He won the Golden Boot playing off the left.
Yes, he did, in a different season.
Exactly.
It's
in a different system though. Different system as well.
Different system, different season. I can't imagine that if Sonny had started and continued to play out on the left for the entirety of this season thus far, I don't think that he'd have the goals that he has at the moment. But that's just, you know, it's obviously just my opinion. But we can't say one way or the other. You couldn't say for sure dogmatically that he would be getting the same amount of goals out on the left. I think it's been a good idea to have him playing the number 9 thus far. But the fact that he's shown us in that last game that there's still a boy in there. Do you know what I mean? There's still he's still able to get out and do the business, do what needs to be done on that left hand side. So having options is obviously, it's always going to be a good thing, always, especially with someone of his caliber.
All right, David, do you want to say anything before we move on?
Yeah, I think you're all deluded and wrong. I think Son is better on the left-hand side for sure. You know, people say I can't say that, but the reality is it was harder to score goals in contest system because you're defending for larger periods. And if you could score enough goals off the left, under Jose Mourinho, under Conte, I don't want anyone to tell me he can't do it in a system where we're actually playing football under Ange Postecoglou.
He was 2 years younger, mate.
What I'm also
2 years younger.
Look, what I'm also trying to add in is the creativity that Son offers. We get more out of him off the left in terms of his all-round game than what we do shoehorning him up front. Shoehorning him up front, you're only really getting his finishing ability, but you're not really seeing much else.
That's his best asset. That's his best asset, isn't it?
What?
His finishing is his best asset.
Mm-hmm.
No, his creativity has always been as good at Tottenham as well. You know, you can't look. People are focusing on his finishing right now because he's been playing up front, of course, rightly so. But people have forgotten the creativity that Son brings, the creativity side of Son that he's always had in his game, and you lose that when you play him centrally. He can't get on the ball and affect the game as much as he does off the left-hand side in terms of creativity. And I'd argue it's the most balanced that forward line has looked all season long. All season long. And the reason why is you have Son back in his natural position. And Richarlison, even on that 10-game run, I was still sitting there saying that front line does not quite look right to me. You know, there's still a lot more to come for it. And there's no coincidence that we look so much more balanced with a proper striker in the striker role and a left winger in the left wing role.
Yeah, I agree. It was the most balanced with the front line that we've looked all season. I completely agree with that. And maybe you have a point to what you're saying as well, because Sonny did break the record for the most assists for Tottenham in the Premier League era on the weekend, you know, overtaking Christian Eriksen, which some people say our most creative player in the Premier League era. So what would you say to that, Sim?
No, I'm not saying he's not creative, and I think he is a creative player. I just think the stats show his best, and I think you can see his best asset of the game for Son is his finishing ability, and the best way to make most use of that is him centrally. And I think as well, I don't think you completely lose all of his creativity in central, because when it comes to chances created, it was still, I think before the game on the weekend, he was near the top for strikers when it comes to chances created. So clearly he's still got that element to his game as well, even when he's maybe not as much as out wide, but he still definitely has it a bit when he's playing centrally. I think he created 7 big chances or something from the striker position. So he still definitely has that element to his game. But look, I loved seeing how he played out wide on Sunday. If he's going to have more performances like that consistently, I'm very happy for him to play there more regularly. I just look at Son and I think about what is he truly elite at, and I think it's finishing in front of goal. And I think to get him in front of goal as many times as possible, that's going to be the best way to get the best out of Son, in my opinion.
All right.
I hear you, but I would also add he doubled his assists by playing off the left wing. He only had 2 before that. Now he's on 4. He's absolutely doubled it. So I would argue that we haven't seen the creativity when you look at terms of the assists and stuff like that this season compared to.
Not hard to double too.
How many goals? How many goals has he scored as a left winger though this season?
None.
Well, he scored one at the weekend, penalty.
Yeah, penalty.
No,
yeah.
he was a striker. He was up front at that point. Richarlison had gone off
majority of the game and he scored. Look, I'm
no,
telling you now.
When he scored, he was a striker. He was up front.
Yeah, but he played left majority of the game and he still scored.
Oh,
that's my point,
he hasn't scored any goals when he's been off the left this season. That's the truth. He's played about 4 games there.
Yeah.
Yeah, fair enough. The creativity is better.
Look, I think, as we said, we can argue this till the cows come home, but essentially it does kind of say, like, you need to tailor it for each specific game. And I think some games he'll be better off the left, some games he'll be better off number 9. The great thing about Heung-min Son, he's a world-class player no matter where you play him, whether you play him at number 9, whether you play him at left wing. We've got an absolutely world-class player on our hands, and I think that's just what it boils down to at the end of the day.